If you're thinking about moving and you want to learn about what everyday life is going to be like in your new town, this is the place for you. On Open House, we sit down with local, top producing real estate agents to help you find the best places to live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you don't want buyer's remorse and you want to find your dream town, we are here for you. So go ahead and book a free call with us and we'll help guide you to the area that is right for you. Now, let's jump in and learn about your new home.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Open House. I'm Zach, and today we are going to be talking with John Tucker about Ellicott City, Maryland. He is a local resident and expert in the area, so we're going to be talking about everything from homes to entertainment. John, thanks for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. Kick things off, I want to know how long you've been an agent and also what you love about living in Ellicott City.
Yeah. This is my 20th year as an agent. Spent 15 years with RE/MAX and the last 5 with Berkshire Hathaway.
Sweet. And how long have you been living in Ellicott City?
30 to 35 years. I had a small computer company before I sold that and got into real estate.
Sweet. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm excited to learn about it. Just to kind of start off with some logistics, I'm curious what the population is.
It's 76,000 for Ellicott City, and the average median price for a home here is 690,000, which is fairly high. And that's because the median income is 121,000, which is pretty high, given the U.S.
Gotcha. So how does that stack up with the overall vibe of the city? Is it more? I know it's pretty close to Baltimore. Is it more city or suburban or rural?
It's suburban. It's got the old Ellicott City, which is kind of like historic and classic shops right on the river. But it's just sprawling suburbs and developments and whatnot. And that's what makes it such a great market to be a realtor in, because it's growing like crazy.
Well, yeah, growth is always growth. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the economics, because you had mentioned the median home price is pretty high, the median income's pretty high. What are people doing for work in Ellicott City? And do they work in Ellicott City or do they commute?
I'd say most commute. It's about an hour to DC, so we get a lot of DC residents and a lot of people who work downtown DC. We also get a lot of Baltimore work downtown type folks. So it's a short commute to either Baltimore or DC. We've got a ton of hospitals in the area. So a lot of my clients are doctors, which helps. Just a ton of it. And the medical community is very large here, and the biomedical industry is very large here.
Gotcha. Do you have any big names with headquarters in Ellicott City?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are just a whole bunch. If they're not in Ellicott City, they're around us. So people live in Ellicott City for the schools and commute a short distance to the biomed or the other hospitals in the area, like University of Maryland.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. And you mentioned it's about an hour to DC. How long does it take to get into Baltimore?
About 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then about an hour to DC.
That's not bad. Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So I'm curious now just about like family living. If we're talking about schools, I've heard that the schools in Maryland are incredible. Can you tell me a bit about what public schools are available in Ellicott City?
Oh, yeah, there's 13 high schools in Howard County, which is where Ellicott City's based. Ellicott City goes to Mount Hebron mostly, but the schools are all very, very good. Their academic numbers are good. All 3 of my kids went through Marriott's Ridge, which is Ellicott City / West Friendship, where I am now, they all tested out of English and math. One of the
Hmm.
things I didn't realize the colleges are experiencing is they got kids coming in who can't read, write, or do the math. So they have remedial programs for a lot of those kids, and mine tested out. So it kind of tells me that schools are good.
Yeah, that's a good indicator.
Yeah,
What about private and specialty schools? What do those look like?
yeah. There's a handful of private schools out here in Howard. Most of the private schools are based around Baltimore City, but they have buses that commute kids downtown. They have buses that take them out to the nearby areas of Ellicott City.
Hmm.
Specialty schools, Ellicott City has the uh, technology target school, which is Howard High School, which is very good.
That's awesome. And what about magnet schools?
Well, that's kind of what I was meaning. A magnet, it was the technology magnet is Howard.
Gotcha.
There are other magnet schools. They may be in Ellicott City. They may be nearby it.
Okay. You had said Target, and I was thinking I hadn't heard Target schools before, but I've heard magnet. Is it the
I
same
guess
thing?
it's magnet. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. That's good to know. Um, I'm curious. You had mentioned University of Maryland. Where is that, and how far away is it?
Well, the Maryland campus is in College Park, which is about halfway between Ellicott City and DC.
Okay.
But University of Maryland has a whole bunch of sub campuses, just like Penn State does.
Yeah.
So you have University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and then you have University of Maryland, different area. But there's like 5 or 6 campuses for the University of Maryland,
That's convenient.
in addition to their main College Park campus is where the football team is and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. And you said that's halfway between Ellicott City and DC?
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes south of here, and it's just right in line. If you look at a map, it's about halfway between the two, DC and Baltimore.
Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really close. It seems pretty accessible, which is really nice. And I know that families care a lot about that with school and with work. I'm curious about the weekends. Let's say you have a couple young kids, maybe a dog or two. What are some things that families like to do in Ellicott City?
You have lots of youth athletics, so that drives a lot of their schedule on weekends.
Mm.
And so there'll be, like families with 4 or 5 kids will be all over the place getting their kids to various sporting activities. So that's a big issue. Other than that, there's all sorts of fairs, restaurants, and all sorts of other things to do in Ellicott City. Old Ellicott City, the historic part, has a bunch of shops. So when my wife and daughters used to go downtown, I knew I'd be losing some money.
I know how that
between the
goes.
shops between the shops and eating at a nice restaurant, it wasn't super cheap, but it's a lot of fun for them to do.
Yeah. So, and then what about, let's say, a date night or going out with some friends? Do you guys have any bars or any clubs down in that historic area? What are some things that adults typically
Yeah,
do?
there's certainly plenty of clubs, and then Friday and Saturday nights, they'll have live bands.
Oh,
They'll
cool.
have uh, outdoor eating, things like that. So you've got the shops, then you've got all the live music, you've got all that. There's a brew pub right on in Old Ellicott City too. So I mean,
Hmm.
there's that, which is a nice place to go and get food and beer they make right there.
That's really cool. Well, and now that we're talking about historic Ellicott City, I'm curious about the history. What's the story behind it?
Well, it was founded by 3 brothers, all with the last name Ellicott, and it goes way back. We are the first stop on the B&O railroad. So they created 2 major wheat mills, and they created a sawmill right at Old Ellicott City. It's right on the Patapsco River.
Hmm.
So you can bring things down by boat, but you can also then bring wood down, bring grains, and then mill them right there, then put them on a train heading west or heading downtown.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
we're the oldest train station in the country.
Really?
Yeah, the first stop for the Baltimore, Ohio rail line.
And
So,
is there part of that that's still standing, or how do you go
well,
see
it
it?
still runs. Yeah, it still
Really?
runs. And there's a train museum in Old Ellicott City that you can go see some stuff on. That's kind of cool. But it still runs today.
Wow. That's cool. I would assume not the
Yeah,
same train, right?
not quite the same train. Plus, Old Ellicott City being right on the river has flooded many times.
Oh, geez.
And they've
Okay.
got a pole outside the train station with marks showing, hey, in this date it got 18 feet high, and this date it got 20 feet high, and that kind of thing. So they've had to rebuild frequently.
Man, there's a park close to where I live that was great growing up as a kid, and then we started getting more floods, and it's been flooded so many times the city just gave up on it. And
Oh,
there's like
really?
wood chips scattered everywhere, and it's kind of sad, but I mean it's good that they rebuild after that kind of stuff happens.
We had major floods 2 years ago and 4 years ago in Old Ellicott City. And it's not because of the river so much, it's because of all the development on the areas above it. So when you get heavy rains, it all runs down there. And
Mm,
they've put in some major structural changes to try and get the water to run around Old Ellicott City. And there's also a some kind of pit that they've got that can hold like 4 million gallons.
jeez.
Yeah, so they've got ways to try and keep it from flooding. It's a big economic center for Howard County and also Maryland, so they definitely restored it.
Wow. Huh. That's really cool. So, and we've kind of been talking about the outdoors now because we're talking about flooding and stuff. So I'm curious about city parks in Ellicott City and the surrounding areas, and then also any lakes or rivers. What's the nature scene like for people who like the outdoors?
There's plenty of that. Got the Appalachian Trail to our west, which a lot of hikers go, and then to the east is the Chesapeake Bay, which is the one of the largest bays in the world. It's where we get all our crabs, the Maryland blue crab. It ton of boating, a ton of marinas, all up and down the state, and the Chesapeake Bay runs from all the way from Delaware down to Virginia. So
I've seen
it's
that.
a big place, and a lot of recreation with that. If you go another 2 hours east, you're at the ocean. So you have the ocean beaches and whatnot. Bethany Beach is huge. Ocean City is huge. Um, just a lot of economic drivers, but a lot of fun. You know, if you want to know, you asked earlier about what the parents and kids do for weekends. A lot of people go to the beaches.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot, either on the bay or the beach itself. So both you've got fresh water on the bay and then salt water on the beach. Great
Sweet.
attractions.
Yeah, that's really
And then
cool.
as far as
Well,
parks go, right near us in Ellicott City, Centennial Park, which is a huge lake, and it's a 3 mile trail around it, and we would take our dogs walking there quite a bit.
okay, I see it. Centennial Park. That's really sweet. It does
Yeah,
look pretty good size. So that's
yeah,
really
very nice, very nicely done.
I think really the last thing that people would want to know about is the events because events, in my opinion, make or break a community. So what is
Yeah,
what does the community feel like in Ellicott City and what kind of events do you guys do that make it special?
but we got the Howard County Fairgrounds, and
Okay.
that's once a year. And then to the north of us is the Maryland State Park outside Towson. So a lot of people will go there, and that's once a year, 1 week fair kind of thing. It's just similar in Howard County. But then there's another 2 dozen fairs and events at Howard County Fairgrounds. You have the Centennial Park, and then you have, it's not hard to get downtown and go to other events there. My daughter lives in Canton, which is downtown waterfront Baltimore. And there's just tons of events every weekend there. So it's 20 minutes and you're downtown Baltimore.
That's not
And
bad.
you can participate in any of those. But it's just a ton of events. And you can go a little west, head to Frederick, and be the same kind of thing. They have fairs, they have events there. So all within 20 minutes.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think we've covered Frederick, so I know what's there. So maybe our viewers do too. That's awesome.
Good.
Well, so Ellicott City, I mean, it seems like a very accessible place. It seems a little bit quieter because it's more suburban. So you get a break from the hustle and bustle of the city. If someone's on the fence about moving to Maryland and thinking about maybe choosing Ellicott City, what would you say has been your overall experience living here?
It's just fantastic. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm from Philadelphia originally, so I like the East Coast. But I wouldn't go back to Philadelphia or the suburbs around it from where I was from, mainly because there's so much to do here. You get all 4 seasons, and you've got the Bay, you've got Deep Creek way to the west, which is still in Maryland for skiing, and you've got 2 hours to the east, you've got the ocean. So there's just a million things to do, and it's all 4 seasons of the year, which is what I like.
Yeah. It's pretty convincing. John, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge of Ellicott City with us today. And I think we all learned something new.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for having me.